Good morning. I'm Sergeant First Class Brian Stoa. I am one of the Army Reserve Operations NCOs from the Oklahoma City Recruiting Battalion. Today's class is on Student Loan Repayment Program. What is the Student Loan Repayment Program? It is an incentive in the Select Reserve that helps you pay off your student loans. When used properly, this program allows you to greatly reduce your education debts. Having a student loan repayment as part of your contract enables the Army Reserve to help you repay your student loans while successfully participating as a member of the Army Reserve. Student loan repayment is an optional benefit that is available when you enlist or re-enlist into the Army Reserve. If you meet the requirements, you will sign a student loan repayment addendum at that time. Without the addendum, you do not have student loan repayment. So who is eligible for the student loan repayment? So to qualify for student loan repayment, you must be eligible to enlist in the United States Army Reserve, meet all the criteria in AR 601-210, or be able to re-enlist into the Army Reserve, meeting the criteria in AR 140-111. As a selected reserve enlisted soldier who satisfactorily served and accepts a commission at a later date in the Army Reserve, you may continue to receive your student loan repayment. So that is important because as we know that most of the Army Reserve OCS AOCs do not come with a student loan repayment plan, and most of the Army Reserve enlisted parts do. So if someone has a degree, we know that they qualify for the $50,000 student loan repayment if they enlist. They can take that enlistment option and at a later date go commissioned, keep all their benefits. According to the Ronald Reagan National Defense Authorization Act. So they must complete the DA Form 5261-4R, which is the student loan repayment addendum when they enlist. So they'll sign that with the guidance counselor shortly after they sign their normal annex. They have to enlist in the MOS that has that program. So what we know is if we do a vacancy load, it's not a primary vacancy, they will not be able to be eligible for student loan repayment program. So it must be a primary vacancy and have that option available. Okay, they must be a secondary school graduate in accordance with AR 61210. That means they cannot be a tier 2. They can't have tier 2 education, so no GED, none of the other schools that fall under tier 2 education credentials. They must be a tier 1 secondary school graduate. They also must not be enlisting to the Army Reserve for the purpose of taking a mil-tech job. In addition, they must enlist for at least 6 years, so a 6x2, 7x1, or 8x0 option. They must score 50 or higher on the ASVAB. That has always been kind of the standard, but I would recommend that you always look at the Select Reserve Incentive Program, the SRIP list, to ensure no changes can happen. The fiscal year SRIP list usually comes out sometime between August and September of each year, but changes do happen throughout the year as the Army Reserve meets its mission. So for this fiscal year, we're already on change 3. There hasn't been any change to this, but I recommend that you always double check so that you don't give out the wrong information. Helpful hint there, submit all eligible loans at the same time to ensure equal disbursement of payments. We'll get into that more later, but that is a good tip. So how much of the entitlement will be dispersed? So the total amount of money available to you under your student loan repayment plan depends on your MOS. It also depends on the amount of education. Now we know that according to the SRIP list. So you can receive anywhere from $10,000 to $50,000 in student loan repayment. Right now, kind of the average that most of you are seeing for like a high school senior scores over 50 is probably right around the $30,000 mark. To qualify for that $50,000, we know that they have to have so many college credits. I believe it's 30 right off the top of my head. Could be more. Double check the SRIP list again to qualify for that $50,000 student loan repayment. So it does not necessarily mean you'll receive that whole amount. Nor does it mean that you will never have to make payments on your student loans. The amount you actually receive depends on how many student loans you have and how old they are. Federal and state taxes will be taken out of your student loan repayment program. It is a form of pay, so you do have to pay taxes against it. If you change your MOS or transfer out of the bonus unit, you may lose your student loan repayment unless it's for normal career progression based on your CMF. So is the entitlement dispersed all at once? The student loan repayment program amount is not dispersed in one payment. Each year, 15% of the original amount of the soldier's loans plus interest may be repaid. However, there are a set maximum and minimum payments for the student loan repayment. The amount of student loan repayment determines the maximum. See the below table for an example. So as you can see, each level, 10,000, 20,000, 30,000, 40,000, 50,000, they have a maximum annual payment that will be made and a minimum annual payment to be made. So no matter what, $500 will be the minimum payment each year. And it just varies on the amount that they have in their contract, how much will actually be repaid for the maximum. The actual annual payment depends on the total amount of the soldier's student loans or the remaining principal balance. The only time student loan repayment would be less than the established minimum is if there was less left on the outstanding balance. How are my loans paid? This is a great question. We get this a lot from applicants. They're not automatic payments. You must initiate your payment online each year. You'll receive an AKO email, which would probably now be an enterprise email, reminding you that to start your online application 60 days prior to your student loan retirement date. See the loan repayment application user's manual on the My Loan Repayment homepage for more information. And I'll give you that website later. The actual disbursement of money is not sent to the soldier. It is forwarded right to the loan agency, annotated in Section 4 of the DD Form 2475. The DD Form 2475 is the form that your soldier will fill out each year to get the student loan repayment going. The Army will not repay any payments, including interest, made by the soldier towards his or her student loans. It is the soldier's responsibility to work with their loan holder and convince them to accept one student loan repayment per year. If the loan holder still wants additional payments, it is suggested that the soldier only make the minimum payment because the Army will not reimburse any payments made by the soldier. When are the student loan repayments made? Student loan repayment payments are made each year or after your anniversary date, 1 year after you signed up for the student loan repayment program. Annual payments will be made on those loans that you have secured for at least 1 year prior to your anniversary date. So what that means is those who enlist as seniors in high school have this program. If when they get to college, they take out their student loan, they can't submit that program right away. They have to wait until they're entering their sophomore year. Then they can take their freshman year loans updated in the system for repayment. The Army Reserve makes payments based on your select reserve status in the Army Reserve. That means you must be a satisfactory participant. If you are not a satisfactory participant, you're not going to get your student loan repayment money anymore. Do not wait until you graduate to submit all your loans. You want to, as each year goes along, you want to, if you incur more loans, add them into the program. If you do wait till you graduate and submit your loans, you have to be eligible for student loan repayment for the 4 years you were in school. The Army Reserve will make back payments to your lending institutions on your behalf. In other words, 4 payments will be made all at once. However, it is best to submit them all at once a year for payment to avoid the situation like a large tax bill. Who gets the money? Student loan repayment payments are made directly to the bank. Payments are not made to you. Any money you pay towards your student loans will not be repaid. It is important to note that student loan repayment payments are taxable income. The money paid to your student loans will be reported to the IRS as part of your reserve income. This is another reason to submit yearly so that you have a much smaller tax bill. Can I stop making loan payments? Request in writing that your lender use the Army Reserve payment to replace your monthly student loan payment. Lenders usually call this prepaying the loan or advancing the payments. For example, if your student loan payment is $70 and the Army pays $700, your lender needs to show your payments advanced for 10 months. If you do not request replacement of student loan payment, your lender, as required by the Department of Education, applies the Army payment as one payment, and you will then have to continue your monthly payments. If the Army payment does not cover the cost of the entire year, you can make the remaining payment or request a forbearance until the Army makes another payment. For example, the Army's payment covers 10 months. To cover the amount owed for the year, you could make the 2 payments or request a forbearance for 6 months until the Army makes another payment. What are my responsibilities? So the soldier's responsibilities include initiate the DD Form 2475 online annually. They will send that DD Form 2475 and institution letter to the financial institution. The financial institution should send their completed 2475 to this address or scan and email the packet to that email address. Maintain good, legible copies of all promissory notes. Keep copies of all promissory notes even when consolidating loans. Keep copies of all correspondence received from the lender. Do not ignore letters or phone calls from the lender. Respond promptly. Do not let your loans become delinquent and go into default. Request deferment or forbearance, whichever is appropriate. How am I notified of payment? You can view all payments online. See the loan repayment application user's manual on the My Loan Repayment homepage for more information. The actual payments of your student loan repayment is forwarded to the loan agency annotated on the DD Form 2475 in Section 4. The check is forwarded to the loan agency or agencies within 30 days to remark posting. You should contact your loan agency to ensure loan repayment was applied appropriately. Can student loan repayment be terminated? For those soldiers who feel they have valid claims to receive student loan repayment payments not made while they were members of TPU, you can submit an inquiry to the student loan repayment team at that email address. To speak to a student loan repayment representative, you can call that number, or you can submit a help desk ticket through RCMS. All right, so where do we go to find this? So most Army Reserve AGR soldiers should be familiar with this site because this is where we go to find our record brief. All right, so the button that we want to click is the one there on the right, My Education. It's going to take you to this screen, which is WEBS, the Web Enabled Education Benefits System. Okay, you can see my name up there in the upper right. You can see that at one time, I had $10,000 in student loan repayment. You can see my status is terminated. That happened when I went AGR. Okay, and you can see the different sizes. Talking about Montgomery Jabil, tuition assistance support, all that stuff. So this is make sure you go there, get familiar with this. Okay, so if you have the student loan repayment on the right-hand side, you're going to click that button. And then right there in the middle, you'll see annual loan repayment application. So you'll click that, and that's where the DD Form 2475 comes from. All right, so you see on top how where you stand, when the contract was, how much you had for student loan repayment, how much you have left, who the loan holder is, all that information is located right there. And if you go to this website, which is the one we just looked at, the self-service RCMS website, you'll be able to find this user's manual, which goes over a lot of the stuff we went over here again, but also goes more in depth about the how to, like how to upload the promissory notes, how to get in touch with your the financial institution. It's definitely something that soldiers should have on their desktop when dealing with, especially the grads that have a large amount of student loans to be repaid. When you can go more in depth and show them how the money is going to pay off their loans, they become more receptive to the things that you're telling them. So if you have any questions, just let me know. Shoot me an email, brian.j.stoa.mill@mail.mil. If you have any suggestions for future classes that you'd like to see, just give me a shout as well, and I'll put something together. Thanks for tuning in.